Hi. One of the biggest questions people have about retiring, and specifically retiring early, is can we afford it? This year we want to work out, can we afford to move to Spain full time and retire early? In this video I'm going to do a comparison between what it costs us currently to live in the UK and what we think it will cost us to live full-time in Spain. The Spain figures are based on our experiences of owning a home here for the last 3 years, and also speaking to people who do live here locally full-time, and the main question we had for them was how much were their utility bills. We don't have any gas, it's just electric, so the electric and water were the only bills that we weren't 100% sure of what they would be. The figures I'm going to give just cover the basics. I'm not going to include housing because everybody's circumstances are different. We don't pay rent or mortgage here, we own this house outright, and you might be renting or buying a studio apartment or a big villa, so it just, all that really depends. I'm also going to talk about how much we've actually given ourselves to live on this year. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that we've taken a year off because we were both really just burnt out, and part of that year off was never really intended to be an experiment of can we retire early to Spain, but very quickly into the year off we thought, well, why not, let's consider if at the end of this year we can afford to actually pack up work altogether and retire early to Spain. So as well as the amount we've actually given ourselves per month for this year, I'm also going to tell you how much I think we're going to need if we do decide to retire early to Spain. I'm going to tell you how much I think we're going to need for a really comfortable life here. So I'm going to give you our own figures. They're not from any statistics that are out there on the internet. These are our own figures that we know for ourselves, plus, like I said, figures that we've asked other people who actually do live here full time what they pay for certain items. I'm going to give the figures in euros because the idea is we will be hopefully one day living in Spain, so I'll give them in euros for both the UK and Spain, but what I'll do is I'll put the pounds and euros on the screen. So in the UK we have gas and electric, we have gas central heating and gas hot water, and over the year that works out quite expensive because obviously we have the central heating on all throughout the winter. So our gas and electric in the UK is 253 euros per month, and our electricity in Spain, because we don't have gas here, is 100 euros per month. That's what we're guessing it's going to be. Broadband in the UK is 28 euros and 75 cents, and the plan we're on here in Spain is 24 euros 99 cents. We don't have mobile here in Spain, but I've just looked up on the people who provide our Wi-Fi, they do mobile phones as well, so I've done a comparison based on those figures. So in the UK, my husband and I pay 17 euros 25 cents each for our phones, and over here it will be 12 euros 99 cents each. In the UK, our TV licence is £15. I'm just saying that in pounds because we don't have it here, so there's no comparison. It's something we won't have to pay for if we move here. We do use different streaming services, but again, everybody's different. Some people have them all, some people don't have any, or some people only have a few. So I'm not going to actually include what streaming services we pay for. Our water bill in the UK is 149 euros 50 cents. We guesstimate our water bill here in Spain will be 30 euros per month, and we're basing that on the fact that how much it's cost us when we've been holidaying here, plus, like I said, speaking to other people, and we don't pay to water the gardens in our community, that comes out of our community fees, which I'll talk about later. So that's just literally for the water we use within our house. Our house insurance in the UK, which is buildings and contents, is €34.77. And in Spain here at the moment we have a special insurance because we don't live here. You have to have extra cover. However, my friend who lives here said for good quality cover, your insurance is probably going to stay the same price. So here in Spain it's €30 per month. Our council tax in the UK is extortionate, and we pay €264.50 per month. Here in Spain we pay €32 per month for our council tax, and that includes the community bins. So on our road we have bins at the bottom of our road and they get emptied every night. A cost we don't have in the UK is community fees. Now we live in a small gated community of 40 properties. They're all houses, and the community fees covers the watering of the gardens, it covers the gardener, it covers the pool and pool maintenance, just maintenance of the grounds really, footpaths, fencing, things like that. Also, every 5 or 6 years the whole community gets painted, so all the houses here are whitewashed, and that's what you get from your fees as well. So that's happened recently. Last year all our houses on the outside, not the inside, on the outside got painted. So although it's an extra cost that we don't have in the UK, €200 a month for what we get I think it's fantastic. So health insurance this year, we've had to find a special insurance policy because we're going to be out of the UK for more than 30 days at a time on some of our trips. We needed an insurance policy that would cover us. So we've gone with Virgin Money, and I think it was about £160 for the whole year for me and my husband. However, if we were to live here, under our visa conditions, we would have to provide our own private health insurance with no co-pays. And the quotes I've had for that are between €100 and €125 per month each. And I have a friend who lives here who says it's excellent. She has her health insurance company app and she can self-refer to see any specialist that she wants, rather than like in the UK you have to go to the GP and then they refer you and you have to wait however long to hear back from the hospital for your appointment to go and see your specialist. Whereas on the private health insurance here, it's just you just book yourself in with the specialist, provided you're sensible and just using that service when you need it. She said she's never had any issues when she's self-referred to see a specialist. The gym here is quite expensive compared to our gym in the UK, but that's only for this year because we don't want a year's membership, because we can only be here for 6 months out of 12 this year. We've opted to do a 4-week membership at a time, and that works out €85 for 4 weeks each, which is quite expensive. But if we were to live here and go for the 12-month subscription, that works out at about €50 each for the year. And in the UK, our gym membership is €39.07. But I will say the gym here is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. And we really like it. We can walk to it from our house, and that's really important to us as well. When it comes to groceries, it's really difficult because the way we do it is we give ourselves the same amount in each country and we just have to make it work. So that works out just under €500 a month. It's like €498. The differences are, obviously alcohol is much cheaper here, but the quality of the fruit and vegetables is much better here. I would have to spend a lot more money at a different supermarket than the one I use in the UK to get the same quality fruit and veg that I get here. So in that respect, I feel like things like that are better value here. But for the most part, I feel like we get the same amount of food for what we spend here. I mean, I think if you went down individual items, you'd see some are more expensive than others. And I've seen other people on YouTube do videos, price comparison videos, but I think the way we think about it is this is our amount for groceries every month, and we just have to make that work. Going back to the private health insurance, having the peace of mind that, especially as you get older, if you think something's not quite right, and we all know our own bodies, and you know if something's wrong, the thought of having to wait on the NHS to see a specialist, especially at the moment, I think having the peace of mind that you can just next day or the same week go and see a specialist because you know there's something wrong, I think it's the cost of the private health insurance is well worth it. It's not really a lot of money if you think about it, €125 a month. And that's for us, obviously that's based on age and if you've got any pre-existing conditions. So obviously if you're older or you have pre-existing conditions, then your health insurance is going to cost more. But I think it's still going to be cheaper than if you were to go for the same cover in the UK. I didn't include eating out in those figures because again, a bit like housing, it's different for everybody. What I like versus what you like might be very different. We usually go to local bistros and we can spend between, if we're going out for dinner, we can spend between 30 and 50 euros, including drinks. So my husband doesn't drink. He usually has a Coke Zero and I will have 2 glasses of wine or 2 pints of beer, and we usually can get a nice meal out for 30 to 50 euros for both of us. And there's a really nice cafe we go to, and you get a huge, this is my treat, a huge piece of strawberry cheesecake, which is me and my husband share, and a coffee, and I think my husband gets a Coke, and it's like €8. I think it might even be a bit less. Yeah, so large coffee for me, a large piece of strawberry cheesecake, which is delicious, and my husband's Coke. We like just doing little things like that. We don't feel like every eating out experience has to be a big, slap up meal somewhere. So that's something nice that we do. So this year, before we decided this was going to be a early retirement experiment, our figure we set ourselves was £1,600 per month for this year off. And at the current exchange rate, that's €1,840 per month for Spain. Obviously this year we don't have to include the private health insurance in those figures. So I'm going to give you my actual figures for this year minus the health insurance. So what I've done, I've rounded up the bills for the month to, I think they worked out €542 a month. I've rounded that up to 600 a month just in case the electricity or water bill is a bit higher. And the food, I've just rounded it up to €500 a month. So that's 1,100, which gives us €740 a month for extras, whether that's eating out, the hairdresser, if we need new clothes or a pair of shoes. And I think that's a really decent amount to have left over at the end. But we don't have a car. So if we do move here full time, even if we don't, we are considering getting one. But if we do move here full time, we 100% going to need a car. So we will need extra money. We think to live really comfortably here and not have to think about money, €2,500 will be plenty for us. And of course we'll have separate money, emergency fund, things like that, but I'm just talking on the day-to-day, €2,500 a month should be more than enough for us to live on. And that's going to be the goal if we do decide to move here full time. as long as we can have that amount of money every month, then I think we'll be silly not to move here. You know, the numbers are really important to us, but it's bigger than that. It's about the lifestyle. We can walk to the beach from where we are. We have community all around us, shops, bars, restaurants. We can get the bus to Marbella. The same bus going the other way goes to Fuengirola. And we're 30 minutes from the airport. We fly into London, so there's multiple flights a day, all year round, from Malaga Airport in case we had to get home quickly in an emergency. That's not a problem. The only hurdle to moving here full time, which isn't really a hurdle because on paper, we have spoken to visa experts, on paper we will get the visa, but it's the visa process. It's very paper heavy as far as I understand. There's a lot of paperwork to gather together, and if we do go for the non-lucrative visa, then we will use a specialist company to do that for us. I'm going to do another video in the future about the non-lucrative visa and what that process is like. I might actually wait until we're actually doing it, if we decide to do it, and then do like a follow along with us, our non-lucrative visa journey. I think that might be more useful. I know a lot of people will say that the taxes are too high in Spain, and they are higher than the UK, and I would urge anyone to thinking of doing this to speak to a UK/Spanish tax expert, and there are people around who specialise in people moving from the UK to Spain. And I think if you plan ahead, it doesn't have to be as bad as you think. But ultimately for us, it's about zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. What do we get? Yes, we might have to pay a little bit more tax here, but what are we getting for that? And for me, it's access to excellent healthcare and a much, much better quality of life than we could ever have in the UK. Ultimately, you've got to do what's right for you. Like, we're going to do what's right for us, which is why we're doing this year, to making sure as best as we can we're covering everything so we don't end up making a huge mistake. When we first started coming here, we tried to wing it and not make any plans, but I think when you've worked your whole life and you've had to plan your life, it's really hard to not do that anymore. We were finding if we weren't making plans, the day was just gone and we was like, we haven't done anything. So there are things we definitely do. So Monday to Friday, every morning, there's 2 different walks we do. 1 hour walk, which is up a very steep hill and back, or a 7-mile walk, which is along the coast, along the boardwalk. And when we get halfway through the walk, we stop and have a coffee and cake, and then we walk all the way back. And so we do those 2 walks every other day. Monday to Friday, we also go to the gym every day. And then on the weekends, on Saturdays, I do these YouTube videos. And then on Sundays, we just do whatever we like. We do whatever we like Saturdays and Sundays, but Saturday has to work around my filming. So if you liked this video, I'd really appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to be notified about more of my videos, if you could subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. And it really helps YouTube know the kind of people who like and want to watch my videos, and it puts my videos in front of like-minded people. And at this early stage in my channel, that's really important, that the right people get shown my videos, and that's hopefully how my channel will grow and I'll get more subscribers and more people watching. So thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week.